Somewhere in the last few months, you may have seen a video promising that an artificial intelligence had just rewritten the story of human civilization. The claim always sounds the same. An AI called Grok was fed 30 years of research on a single site in Turkey. It found a hidden grammar in ancient carvings. It confirmed astronomical alignments, accurate to a fraction of a degree. It uncovered a message buried for 11,000 years that human archaeologists had somehow missed the entire time. The video ends with a warning that the textbooks are about to be torn up. Here is the problem. None of it happened the way these videos say it did. No peer-reviewed study exists. No research team has published these findings. What actually exists is a wave of AI-narrated YouTube content. Dozens of nearly identical videos, all built around the same dramatic formula, all citing a chatbot as if it were a laboratory. Today we're going to look at what Göbekli Tepe actually is, what real archaeologists have actually found there, and why the Grok decoded it videos are not a scientific breakthrough at all. They are something else entirely, and once you see the pattern, you will not be able to unsee it. Göbekli Tepe is real, and it does not need embellishment to be extraordinary. The site sits in the hills of southeastern Turkey, not far from the city of Sanliurfa, close to the Syrian border. It was first noted by surveyors in the 1960s, who assumed the broken stones scattered across the hilltop were nothing more than an abandoned medieval cemetery, and moved on. That assumption held for 3 decades. In 1994, a German archaeologist named Klaus Schmidt, working with the German Archaeological Institute, visited the hill and recognized that the stones were something far older and far stranger than a graveyard. He began excavating the following year, and what his team uncovered over the following 2 decades reshaped an entire field. Beneath the hill lay circular enclosures built from massive T-shaped limestone pillars, some standing over 5 meters tall and weighing up to 10 metric tons. Many of the pillars are carved with animals: foxes, boars, vultures, scorpions, snakes, and other creatures rendered with genuine skill. Radiocarbon dating places the earliest phases of construction at roughly 9,600 BCE, which makes the oldest parts of the site more than 11,000 years old and roughly 6,000 years older than Stonehenge. What makes Göbekli Tepe genuinely important is not a secret code buried in the stone. It is a question that real archaeology has been wrestling with honestly for 30 years out in the open in published journals, without any need for an AI to whisper it into existence. The people who built this site left no evidence of farming. No domesticated grain has been found in the earliest layers. No evidence of permanent year-round habitation has been confirmed at the core enclosures either. By the conventional timeline taught for most of the 20th century, organized monumental construction was supposed to come after agriculture, after villages, after the kind of settled surplus that lets a society free up labor for building temples. Göbekli Tepe appears to invert that order. Schmidt's own framing, which he repeated for years before his death in 2014, was that the temple came first and the farming came after, that people may have gathered seasonally, undertaken enormous shared building projects, feasted together on wild game, and then dispersed, long before anyone in the region had planted a deliberate field. That is a real and legitimately debated idea. It has generated real controversy inside archaeology itself, with more recent researchers questioning whether Schmidt's temple interpretation was too narrow, and whether some areas of the site show more evidence of domestic life than he believed. None of that debate needs an artificial intelligence to be interesting. It has been interesting to actual scholars for a very long time. The construction itself is also a genuine and open engineering question. And this is usually the part the viral videos exaggerate the most while getting the basic shape of it right. The builders had no metal tools. Copper and bronze working were not yet present in the region. There is no evidence of the wheel, of pulleys in any developed form, or of domesticated draft animals capable of hauling multi-ton loads. And yet these pillars were quarried from bedrock a short distance away, shaped, carved, dragged uphill, and set upright in prepared stone sockets. Archaeologists studying the quarry sites nearby have found unfinished pillars still partly attached to the bedrock, which tells us something valuable about method, that the stone was worked with harder stone tools, picks, and abrasion, and that the labor was organized well enough to move blocks of this size using rope, wooden sledges, packed earth ramps, and a large coordinated workforce. This is difficult and impressive, and it forces us to take pre-agricultural hunter-gatherer societies far more seriously as organizers of collective labor than earlier generations of scholars did. It is not, however, a mystery without any plausible explanation. Experimental archaeology, the practice of testing ancient techniques using only the tools a period is known to have had, has shown that stone-on-stone shaping and hauling with rope, sledges, and manpower can move and finish blocks in this weight range, even if it is slow, exhausting, and requires many people working over long stretches of time. The claim that this is somehow physically impossible without cranes or advanced technology is not something mainstream archaeology or engineering has actually concluded. It is a dramatic flourish that gets added by narrators who want the mystery to sound bigger than the evidence supports. Now let's talk about what actually happened online, because this is the part that matters for understanding why you're seeing so many of these videos right now. Starting in early 2026, a specific format of content began spreading rapidly across YouTube. The pattern is unmistakable once you notice it. A narrator opens with an ominous hook about a stone older than writing. They describe the real history of the site accurately enough to sound credible. And then they pivot to a claim that an AI system, almost always named as Grok, the chatbot built by Elon Musk's company Xai, AI, was fed decades of archaeological data and in a single pass, discovered patterns no human ever caught. The specific claims vary from video to video, which is itself a warning sign. Some say the AI found a grammar hidden in the animal carvings, a structured symbolic language with rules governing which symbols could appear next to which others. Some say it found the site's alignments match the sky exactly as it appeared 11,000 years ago, down to fractions of a degree. Some claim it uncovered a full record of a global catastrophe encoded in the stone. If you search for this same format applied to other famous sites, you'll find nearly identical videos claiming Grok decoded the pyramids, revealed the truth about the so-called Dendera light bulb, and even solved the disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. It is the same script, the same structure, the same appeal to a mysterious AI oracle, simply pointed at a new subject each time. That repetition is the biggest clue that we're looking at a content format built for engagement, not a genuine research finding being reported responsibly. Here is what has never actually been produced anywhere in connection with these videos: a published paper, a named research team, a described methodology, or a dataset anyone else can check. No archaeological journal has released a study describing Grok's involvement in symbol analysis at Göbekli Tepe. No linguistics department has put its name to an independent verification of a grammar discovered in the carvings. When people who track this kind of content have looked closely at the claims, the conclusion has been consistent. This is entertainment content dressed up in the language of discovery, not peer-reviewed research. The specific numbers thrown around in these scripts, precise symbol counts, exact degrees of astronomical alignment, specific cycles measured in tens of thousands of years, are presented with a confidence that real scientific findings almost never carry on a first pass, because real scientists know that a first pass is exactly when you are most likely to be wrong. It is also worth being honest about how a large language model like Grok actually works in a case like this. These systems are extremely good at generating fluent, confident-sounding text, and at finding surface-level statistical patterns in whatever data they are shown. They are not equipped to independently authenticate an archaeological excavation, run controlled experiments, or replace the years of fieldwork, dating, and peer review that real findings require. Feeding a chatbot a summary of public information about a famous site and asking it to speculate is not the same thing as fielding a research team, and presenting the chatbot's fluent output as a confirmed discovery blurs a line that matters. It's worth pausing on why this particular kind of claim spreads so easily, because the instinct behind it is not unreasonable. Göbekli Tepe genuinely did upend an old academic consensus, and it did so specifically because specialists in different fields, archaeology, geology, radiocarbon dating, art history, had to combine their evidence to make sense of what Schmidt had found. There really is a kind of humility in recognizing that no single expert can hold every piece of context at once. That is a true and important idea. But there's a wide gap between that honest observation and the leap these videos make, which is to suggest that a chatbot, simply because it can process large amounts of text quickly, has somehow succeeded where careful cross-disciplinary human teams failed for 30 years. Real integration of archaeology, astronomy, and climate science does happen, and when it happens through actual researchers running actual statistical tests, publishing actual methodology, and submitting their work to actual peer review, where other experts can try to tear it apart before it's accepted. That process is slow and often unglamorous, and it rarely produces a single dramatic reveal. It produces careful, hedged, incremental claims, the kind that get modified as more evidence comes in. The viral AI videos skip every part of that process and go straight to the ending, because the ending is what gets clicks. There genuinely are real astronomical questions connected to Göbekli Tepe worth knowing about, and it would be dishonest to pretend the site has. Nothing unusual about it at all. A carved pillar known informally as the vulture stone has drawn attention for years because of the arrangement of animal figures across its surface, and independent researchers have proposed that some of these images could represent constellations, potentially linked to a documented period of severe climate disruption known as the Younger Dryas, a real cold snap that gripped the planet roughly 12,800 to 11,700 years ago. This idea has been discussed in published academic papers, and it remains genuinely contested. Mainstream archaeologists have raised serious objections to it, pointing out that reading precise constellations into weathered animal carvings from a culture that left us no confirmed writing system is a very difficult claim to prove, and that human beings are exceptionally good at finding meaningful patterns in ambiguous images, whether those patterns are really there or not. That tension, an intriguing hypothesis on one side and a reasonable scientific skepticism on the other, is exactly what a responsible telling of this story should include. It is far more interesting and far more honest than a story where a chatbot simply announces the answer and the debate is declared over. So where does the evidence actually point? It points toward Göbekli Tepe being one of the most important archaeological discoveries of the last century, built by pre-agricultural communities whose organizational capacity we clearly underestimated, still generating legitimate open questions that real scholars continue to investigate through careful, slow, peer-reviewed work. And it points toward the wave of Grok decoded videos being something else, a recognizable content format, optimized for dramatic hooks and confident numbers, built by creators who understand that the phrase AI just discovered gets more attention than the phrase researchers continue to debate, even when the second phrase is the one that's actually true. None of this means artificial intelligence has no role to play in archaeology. Machine learning genuinely is being used in serious research to help process ground-penetrating radar data, to assist with pattern recognition across large image sets, and to speed up work that would otherwise take specialists years to complete by hand. That real useful application looks almost nothing like a viral video claiming a single chatbot session rewrote 11,000 years of history in one pass. The distinction matters because the version of the story that respects the evidence is not a smaller story. Göbekli Tepe does not need an invented AI oracle to be astonishing. It was astonishing the day Klaus Schmidt first understood what he was standing on, and it remains astonishing today, exactly as the actual archaeology describes it, without a single invented grammar or fabricated star chart required. If you want to actually understand this site, the real record is sitting right there for anyone willing to read it carefully. Schmidt's own excavation reports, the ongoing work now continuing under Turkish and German teams as part of the broader TAZ Tepler research project, and the genuinely open academic debates about labor organization, ritual life, and the site's eventual deliberate burial around 8000 BCE. Those sources will not hand you a dramatic reveal in the final 30 seconds of a video. What they will give you is something better, a real window into how differently organized, how genuinely capable, and how deeply mysterious our distant ancestors actually were, without needing a single word of it invented for you. That's the direction the evidence points, and it's a more honest story than the one going viral right now. If you found this useful, I'd rather you leave skeptical of the next big AI claim than impressed by it. And if that's the kind of history you want more of, stick around.